Is it going?
Almost.
Okay, cool.
We're almost there.
Okay, cool.
We should be good to go now. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Super excited here. Hey, Laura. Laura's on with us live. If you're here watching live, say hello, drop us a hashtag live. For those of you that don't know who I am Brittany, a holistic nutritionist. I own Fresh and Fit Nutrition, and I'm one of the amazing one of the admins of this amazing group here with my friend Chris Poorten. And I'm going to let you take it away, Chris, and introduce Alexis here.
Sure. This is my friend, Dr. Alexia, out of Fort Myers, Florida. I believe that's where you are. You can correct me if need be. I've known Alexia, gosh, 10 years or so. We used to work together at a gym in New Jersey, and I still actually really remember a conversation really well, especially one of them in the kids' room about life and psychology and health and well-being. You might remember that too. Since then, Dr. Alexia has received her doctorate in psychology, specializing in child psychology, and is now a board-certified school psychologist. You currently work in the school in Florida and also are licensed in New Jersey and Florida as well. You guys will get to notice Alexia's a big heart, really, really sweet, and loves to serve, make a positive difference in people's lives. And what I really appreciate is your desire to take a holistic approach to supporting well-being, both incorporating food, supplements, oils, and other aspects to support well-being. Also, something Alexia and I have in common is we're both gluten-free, and so is Brittany. So we kind of connected on that a couple years ago as well.
Yeah, that was a great intro, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You want to introduce yourself? Can I tell what you're passionate about in the different areas of well-being, what you really enjoy doing?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Alexia. Thanks for everybody that came out, although I can't quite see who's in it because I'm new to this. Lives on Facebook. We were doing them on Instagram. So I am, as Chris said, I received my doctorate in applied psychology from Rutgers in New Jersey in 2018. And since then I worked in various schools, hospitals, private practices, and came down to Florida and received a private license to work as a licensed school psychologist in my own practice. So that's what I'm currently pursuing, and treating patients, children through adults, with a holistic approach, as Chris mentioned. So I do incorporate, in addition to traditional therapies such as cognitive behavioral methods and all of that, I use mindfulness. I incorporate nutrition and exercise. And obviously, if patients are interested in receiving some ancillary services, I go over, what oils, what vitamins could benefit them in their overall healing journey. So, and I'm passionate about, helping them achieve that on their journey.
Awesome. I know one of the most common topics that came up when I put the poll up about a couple weeks ago was ADD, ADHD, and I know there's different aspects to that from both a nutritional perspective, in addition to a therapeutic behavioral perspective. What's your take on that? How do you help support that goal? Not goal and our concern.
Yeah, and that particular concern did come up. I think it came up too along with concerns about, somebody had posted a comment about holistic approach for mood disorders, and I'd like to bring in the similarities between the two diagnoses. So they're often confused a lot, actually, with ADHD and mood disorders. So, right, they can look alike. They can have a lot of similar qualities in that, your mind kind of jumps from one topic to another, you struggle with inattention, and then the mood piece obviously having more of the depression side. So, but again, it could be, rambling conversation. So all of those, symptoms that someone could be going through can be treated holistically, right? So if I were to recommend, for somebody with ADHD, if I was going to start trying to incorporate fitness into their life, right, or exercise, that's going to improve cognitive functioning and mood, right? That's going to increase that your levels of dopamine to increase your attention and increase your focus and your learning, right? So overall, it's going to improve like your mood and your alertness, and your focus and your memory. So those are the things that happens when you exercise, right? So that's why I was so passionate about taking that holistic approach to these disorders and diagnoses, because not only, are we changing our mindset with, CBT or DBT or ACT methods, but we are incorporating these aspects of holistic health, like exercise and nutrition, to see how that can increase, those chemicals that we want, that those dopamine, serotonin, and all of that with supplementation, if that makes sense.
Certainly. And have you seen a kind of a with and without, like just with talk therapy versus incorporating walking or yoga and so forth, kind of difference, and as I said, with and without?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely see a difference with and without, and obviously this is just based off of, personal, what I see with my patients. But I have seen greater improvements, right? In those that are doing the exercise, are doing the yoga, the meditation, right? The supplementation. You do, because when you're able to have that mindful approach to things, right? That's when you're able and master that. That's when you're able to slow your mind down, right? That's when you're able to gain control over your attention, which is the main, factor that impacts ADHD. So those principles are so strong, and that's why I feel so passionately about it, because when they are able to, again, gain those skills, it affects the brain, right? Meditation literally, as we know, rewires the brain, right? So that's going to be impacting your focus. That's going to be impacting your negative thought processes into positive ones, because you're rewiring neurons in the brain as you do yoga and as you exercise and as you meditate, right?
That makes perfect sense. And I'm just kind of curiosity too. I know you as a person, obviously, but in your schooling, did you learn much about these aspects, or was it more traditional therapy and so forth? Or was this just a personal like integration of both?
Yeah, I think, we definitely learned I got heavy mindfulness training, and that's why I feel so confident to carry that out. Pursuing the doctorate, I did have a whole host of different approaches that were taught to me. Again, we talked about cognitive behavioral, which is about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and so on and so forth. We did do a lot of mindfulness practices in putting it into practice. So per se, like internships, practicum experiences. So when I was in those types of settings, we got a lot of training. For example, at my postdoctoral internship, that was at a school-based mental health center in New Jersey, and we did a lot of mindfulness-based / more of that side of things, more of that, kind of what we're touching on today. So I did learn it, but again, as far as the nutrition component and the essential oils and the vitamins, like that was self-explored, right? So with our passion for fitness and working at the gyms in younger years, and being able to see how it personally affects you and makes you in a better mood, I think that's where that part came from. And I started to say to myself one day that the mind and body are interconnected and you can't separate the two. And that's how I knew I had to shift gears a little bit with patients and be able to incorporate everything together.
Certainly. Are many of your patients, are they open to like, oh yeah, maybe I should listen to my body when I'm eating sugar or gluten? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling really crappy after I eat sugar, and that's affecting my mood and my emotions and everything else. Are they open to that?
A lot are, honestly,
Cool.
which is, yeah. I mean, and at first, again, just kind of like, and I'm sure, you've been a health coach for so long, and you're so experienced with it that that it takes time to really make those changes. But
Of course.
I think when they start to put into practice and see that, they feel a lot better eating that apple than that chocolate bar, they see for themselves, and then that's like intrinsically motivating for them to make those changes, where, all we can do is guide and suggest these changes and see how they benefit, and they can kind of, like you said, listen to their body, be in tune with, how different things make them feel. And on that topic, you know, being able to practice that with all aspects of life, right? So it's, you know, we talk a lot about the noise in the world, you and I, Chris, and I feel like this kind of touches on that. Like, you know, everything that you do, what are you watching? What are you listening to? And how does it make you feel? So that approach is part of the holistic, you know, kind of approach too.
Aspects, and even just this social media, you know, you probably know personally and professionally the term doom scrolling. Yeah. Going through your phone and this latest news happened, or this is going on, or that's going on, you know, 20,000 miles away. Is that affecting me right now in my current space?
Yeah.
So managing that in addition to all of the noise in the world is helpful for mind, body, spirit, etc. Obviously, and that also affects your neurotransmitters because your cortisol goes up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. We're just responding to those chemicals, right? And that's what's kind of going on when our bodies have these kind of, you know, reactions.
That makes sense. I know you can't talk about, you know, clients, but are there certain ways you suggest, you know, people handle that as far as, you know, handling the noise or just you know, life stressors and so forth?
Can't talk about
you know, I think you need to find what works for you.
Okay.
For self-care. You know, right. There's a lot of self-care practices, you know, that I do recommend, you know, but the thing that I try to suggest is always, and again, you know, we're not making claims here as to psychological advice during this call. This isn't, you know, a therapy relationship, but this is just kind of just me speaking from my experience, right? That, you know, if you're able to kind of test a couple things out and see how that works for you, right? If you want to test out a day at the beach, if you want to test out a walk, you know, if you want to test out yoga, test out some different positive activities and see how you feel after. See if you felt any better, right?
Just the simple things. So like I said, that's just walk on the beach, eating an apple versus something else. You know, how do you feel?
Right.
Body, mind, brain, spirit feel, obviously.
Yeah, just to kind of test it out. And so that's kind of speaks to what you're saying about the noise, right? So if you're receiving this information from the news or social media outlet, or maybe a person in your life that's, you know, maybe saying some negative things, you're going to want to tap in again and say, you know, how is that making me feel? How's my body physically responding to this? And where can I change things?
Whether it's your heart is bothering you or your stomach is upset in certain situations, obviously.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because, you know, and I think that's a lot of ways that anxiety and depression can come through, is through pains and through aches, or, you know, upset stomach, digestive problems, heart palpitations. So it's just ways that your body's communicating with you, and we have to respond, right?
In the most healthiest way possible, as opposed to the Snickers bar or the cake. Nothing wrong against it, obviously, but it is the healthiest way possible to support our health, obviously.
Right, exactly. And you know, maybe a Snickers bar doesn't make you feel bad. You know, who knows? But let's just be curious. Let's just test some things out, and that's a good way to approach it for yourself without putting so much pressure on yourself that you can't have, you know, one thing versus the next.
Of course. A couple of years ago, you came to me, and kind of actually, I think it was actually around this time, now that I remember it, and you're looking to incorporate other aspects, such as oils and tinctures and supplements. As a therapist, and you're a great person, what interested you in incorporating that in for your soul protocol?
Yeah. So the reason why I got interested in incorporating that is because I wanted to be able to give patients like a tangible option, right? A lot of people that come into therapy are either on medication or they're thinking about going on medication, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But for the people that are hesitant but are still having a lot of symptoms and don't want to go on medication or want, you know, a more holistic approach, I think vitamins and essential oils are, you know, those natural solutions to health, and that don't have those addicting effects, right, that a lot of medications do have, or detrimental effects, you know. So that's what made me motivated to seek these out so that I could have options for them, right? If they, were doing a lot of yoga and mindfulness, but still couldn't sleep at night, I wanted to be able to say, all right, try this oil, or try this vitamin and see if that helps, right? So I think that's what kind of led me there, is so that they could have tangible options and, like, you know, be able to be on a regiment with that, or, maybe they're out and about and have an oil on them and are able to smell it and get calm, from a situation. So just to be able to have not only the internal tools of meditation and, all of those strategies that they're learning from whatever type of modality of actual traditional talk therapy I'm doing, but also to have, that supplementation. So just to have more for them, more options for them, for people, because there's so, many unique people, and we all are going to heal in different ways, and we're all going to need different things. So the more options, the better. And that's what kind of made me interested and reach out to you, because I trusted you a lot and knew that you would lead me in a right direction in terms of, the supplements.
Awesome. How I know you've had some cool family experiences. You tell me about your sister often. How have your patients, family members, kind of not reacted, but how have their experiences been like?
They love them. I mean, my family has had a lot of health issues in our family. And so being able to share my experiences on the products and then have them get interested and ask me about them and get on the vitamins and feel like their headaches have gone away and feel like their energy is better and they have more clarity. That's been amazing to see the people, that I love get better, and I just want to keep sharing that as much as possible. And that's why, we're blessed to have this, meeting today, to be able to share everything that we've been experiencing with, our own kind of health journeys, and being able to spread that to family, friends, and, everyone on this platform that cares about that. So
That's awesome. Have your patients and so forth, are they open to it as well? Oh yeah, and I carry this oil in my car with me, I'm out and about. If I need the calmness and peacefulness, how have they been with it?
good. They really like it. I know a lot of people, and just, patients and people I know, just friends, and they help for, it helps them sleep, helps them relax. So the way that, the aromatherapy works is that it actually goes straight to the olfactory nerve, and then that goes straight to your brain. So that's why you have those effects in your, relaxation. And that's why it can kind of reduce stress and tension, or, affect your metabolism and improve your mood. So like the citrusy ones, they really like, because, if you're battling depression, and then you could smell something like lemon or grapefruit, citrus, oils, right, those aromas, those are the mood boosters. So those ones are really popular for, that I recommend for. So that, and like lavender for relaxation. So those are just quick examples of something that I would, say. So, and that's not to say that the supplementation is any less important than, doing the behavioral activation of, doing the positive activities if you're into dance or art or music. So there's a lot of options on the table. I think that's the important, thing to put out there to support your health and well-being.
We definitely are a whole person. We aren't just the foods, the nutrients, the minerals. We have thoughts and emotions and stuff that goes on in our lives. And that's why we need the support from someone like you to support us. We're just overloaded with thoughts and so forth, and just to kind of unpack things.
I love that.
So are you currently working with students now? I know you worked at school. Are you still working with the students, adults? Like
I work with kids through adults now, at my practice. So I see young kids, teens, adolescents. I see young adults, like emerging adults, a lot. And then I see adults as well. And recently I am bringing on a practitioner who's going to be working with couples, families, and individuals, mostly adults, but kids also. So we're going to bring in that couples component, that family component, that, looks at kind of the family systems perspective of traditional psychology methods. So
that's awesome.
So that'll be a nice component to add, as well. Yeah.
to support people. I know you're local to there, but you are able to, from the supplement perspective and so forth, you can work with people internationally, not a concern. In addition to
Yes.
you're in New Jersey, so your main clientele as far as therapy is in Florida and New Jersey, correct?
Yeah, so I want to definitely, I'm glad you brought that up. I would definitely want to talk about that distinction. So I actually have my psychology practice here in Florida, and I see patients in Florida, and my practitioner is going to be seeing patients in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. So that's going to be a great kind of aspect there. And I'm also looking to get more states under my belt soon. If I join SciPac, which I will, I'll have like 30 states. But separately from that is my kind of soul center, which focuses on the wellness and health. So I do coaching in that business, and I do the supplementation through that business. Like you said, that's internationally with the essential oils and the vitamins. So that's completely separate from my psychology practice, just to put that out there. And also to emphasize that we do coaching, and that we do the oils and the vitamins, and in that regard. So I hope that answers your question, Chris.
Yeah, totally. So different aspects to support the whole person in their journey. Like I said, the actual deep therapy that's certainly needed at times, in addition to supporting the person with the foods and supplements and so forth. I like to say, this is you can agree or not agree, but we can have all the good intentions to do really well with the therapy, but we could also go home and kind of not backtrack, but if we go home and we're feeding our bodies foods that are really causing inflammation and might cause our mood to go off, such as sugar, gluten, and so forth, your therapy is freaking awesome. But we also need to support the whole person, make sure that it stays as well.
Yes, I like that a lot. Yep. And that's why, I kind of thought of the idea to bring it all together, and to have that, kind of wellness coaching aspect, because you do need it as a lifestyle practice.
Correct.
Right? You do need it as, like you're saying, you need those everyday changes. We can't just do once a week therapy with me, in my practice for 1 hour per week. We need all of the hours per week to be focused on your healing journey. And that's for life, right? That healing journey never ends. So it's important to have those extra factors in there, and to be able to, meet with a coach like yourself, and to be able to talk about nutrition, and to be able to go over supplementation, and that's what sustains the progress.
We can, someone says, often people ask, what's a good supplement for inflammation? I can give them fish oil and a list of supplements for that. And they can take them, which is great, but if they still continue to feed their body with inflammatory foods, those supplements are only going to do so good. So the same perspective, like we need to support the whole thing and cut back on those inflammatory foods while also incorporating the anti-inflammatories to make sure that it sticks in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do. And I think that's why, with the coaching part, I emphasize foods so much, because that is so powerful. That's what you're feeding your body, right? That's how you're communicating back with your body, right? We talked about our bodies communicating with us with pains and aches and stomach aches, right? Heart palpitations. We're communicating back to it when we feed it and tell it, how we want to feel, right? So I know that I want to feel good. So that's why I'm going to start right off with like a healthy smoothie with protein, right? And fruit. That
makes perfect sense. And you've been gluten-free 2 years or so, I think. How has your experience been? And again, we're not like saying everyone has to go gluten-free, but just curious from a personal perspective.
I feel a lot lighter when I'm gluten-free. I notice the difference if I get off of that and have a piece of pizza, say, right? And then you notice how bloated you feel, you notice how tired you feel. And I also recently, and I don't know if you knew this, Chris, I think you did, that I don't do meat, right? So
yes.
that has also been a positive experience. To be able to feel lighter and to have that experience. But again, everybody's body is going to be different, right? So if gluten or meat doesn't make you feel bloated and tired and in a bad headspace, then I wouldn't say get rid of it. But for me, like to be honest with you, getting more mindful with my eating and overall life, paying more attention to, what I'm putting in my body, that just didn't feel to be the right thing for me. So everybody's different, but listen to your body.
We're both from Central New Jersey. We're a lot of good Italian places. Where originally we can get good pizza, pasta in any corner, go down the beach and go down the shore, get some pizza. I miss it. I would love to have some. I just don't want to feel crappy afterwards.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And then you kind of train yourself because it's like
Right.
more about the consequences. So.
Right. You kind of balance like, yeah, can I get like hypnotized and just not feel anything? I don't know. Is that worth it or not?
Yeah. Hey, if there was no negative effects, then that would be a different story, because
yeah,
you want what tastes good. But
of course, I know you know the same spots to refer to for the greasy pizza and stuff. So it's cool to hear from your personal perspective of how both foods can affect your mind and body in addition to your personal experience. Oh yeah, you have no difference.
right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's, kind of that intuitive eating that I kind of try to preach, and to be able to say, oh, okay, well, I don't have the problem with gluten, or I don't have the problem with dairy, but, notice again how that makes you feel, right? How do you feel after eating fast food, fruit, so on?
It makes so much sense. And I know Brittany has been gluten-free for I think a couple years now, and you specialize in that from a gut health perspective as well, as far as how that impacts mind, body, spirit as well. So with the three of us here on the same page with that from the physical perspective too. So it's cool to see, and you really incorporate so much. Because I remember I've been to a therapist, and which is great for the 50 minutes, but it's like, okay, what do I do when I'm not talking to you, like I said, to make sure that the therapy sticks, what we're going through and experiencing. So you're not just trying to go forward, but also putting your foot in the brake. So you're really not really going as fast as you really should be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why it's important to do both, because, if you're going through something, because it is, that mind body approach. And, there are things that you do have to work through in therapy, and people that have experienced trauma, and, to go over those traditional talk therapy methods of, changing our mindset through CBT, or learning, acceptance skills through DBT or ACT. So there's that time and place for that therapy that's so important each week for you to go. And then also to establish practices outside of that, and to be able to figure out how you're going to eat and how you're going to run your day-to-day life. And I always like to ask, when I first meet with somebody, either, for coaching or therapy, is like, what do your days look like? How are we what time are we getting to sleep? What time are we waking up? And what are we putting in our bodies, right? And how is that feeling? Who are we spending time with? How's that feeling? So it's a lot to assess and bring in.
A very basic question. If you could just go over the difference between CBT, DBT, and so forth.
Yes, that's such a great question. I'm sorry, I should have done that. So CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, right? So that's speaking about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and how those affect each other, right? So with a therapist taking that approach, we're going to kind of look at your thought process and how we're going to shift that, right? Based on, we're looking at distortive thinking patterns and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Yes, totally.
So that's the CBT. And then DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. So for that, you're going to learn acceptance skills, right? So that's more of skill-based, and mindfulness is part of that. It's emotion regulation, it's mindfulness. So those are kind of the skills worked on. So just a quick example for that would be like thinking about activities that you want to do, or like things to contribute to. So it's just stress tolerance in a way, right? So some people are super dysregulated and they need kind of like sensory stuff. That's part of DBT. So it's a great approach, right? Like you might feel better curled up in a cozy blanket. That might be part of it for you. And then ACT is acceptance and commitment therapy, right? So that's value-based, and I actually bring in a lot of the three of these components as well. And you kind of look at your values and you kind of discuss that and kind of figure those out together in therapy. And then what you do is you commit to acting in accordance with those values. So if you value health, but then from now until our next session, we're eating Burger King, right? So we're not acting in accordance. So that's the therapy goal, is to act in accordance with what you value, right? If you value, honoring yourself, right? But then you make a poor decision with the relationship or let somebody cross your boundaries, right? So we got to hold honoring ourselves in mind as our value that we're committing to and sticking to.
It's so not simple, but it's just makes so much sense. Are you honoring your commitments to your goals, your health and well-being and so forth, to really stand track? Because the therapy is amazing and you're an amazing person, as I know, but we need to also cover all bases from that perspective too, of, okay, am I making the right decisions to drink more water in accordance with my health goals? Having an apple, for example, like you said, eating foods that support your health goals, and also supporting yourself with people that are like-minded and they're going to support you on your personal health and wellness journey. And also maybe staying away from people that may not be best for you. So it's really, I think it's just covering all bases in a sense, just in a very layman's terms.
Yeah, I think it is too, honestly. I really do. And I think, it's funny that you say it's so simple. It really is,
I don't mean to demean you. I'm just.
No, it really is. It really is simple, but I think it's hard to execute for everyone, especially when they're going through mental illness. So, it's the hardest journey that you'll ever go on, but it's the most rewarding journey. And there's a big payoff, right? And I know you always talk about, payoffs and, how your health paying for it, is going to pay big time in the long run. And I think about that because you're going to put in the work, right, to change your behaviors. And that's the hard part, really. The concepts are simple. Changing your behavior is the hard part. But again, it pays off. And that commitment is so important, like you talked about before.
So, are there any not easy, but tips or tips to really stay on track, like you said, whether it's setting a reminder on your phone to drink water, or just things we can incorporate throughout the day that'll help us stay on track, cover all bases, from talking to a professional like you and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. I like the reminder. Definitely lists I like a lot, right? You can write things down. You might do a big whiteboard, right? If you have those organizational deficits or are forgetful. You can motivate yourself for it, because it's not only about remembering, it's also about wanting to do it and getting up and going to take that walk, right? So kind of reward yourself, right? So if you stick on track with your goals, whatever they might be for the week, reward yourself with something that you really enjoy. I know for you would probably be a concert, but I mean,
you know me well.
You gotta enjoy too, and not be so hard on yourself. So just take steps toward your goals and reward yourself.
That makes perfect sense. And I know there's this stigma of, oh, I don't want to talk to a therapist, I don't need help, or it's like, I don't think I'm not mentally sick. But is there simple ways we can kind of break that stigma? It's like, it's do it for yourself, invest in yourself to someone, even if you don't think it's needed. But I've had great experiences with the right, it's like anything, with the right coach, with the right therapist, it's gonna feel so good. You're gonna feel so relieved afterwards when working with someone. So I think it's important to recognize that. Yeah. Even if you think, oh yeah, I don't need to talk to a therapist, I'm fine. It's worth it, believe me.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. Talk to other people, hear their experiences. And obviously people have to make that decision for themselves. But one thing I will say about stigma is that we all have physical and mental health. So if you're going to the gym 3 times a week to work on your physical health, you can go to a therapist once a week to work on your mental health. you have to work on both because they're the same thing.
It's
For help.
so true. And
Help.
there's nothing to be ashamed
No.
of to going to a therapist. It's gonna be so much, you can feel so much better afterwards.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, it's as much about the therapeutic relationship as anything else, like you said. That relationship in and of itself is healing because it's a way to create a trusting relationship and create that bond that many of us, you know, we've had our trust broken in the past, right? And we may need to reestablish trust and security. So there's many, many different reasons to go and do it, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. Hope is there for you. Hope is ahead, and you know, there's always help available and support available for you.
Definitely. I know you're New Jersey and Florida. You can certainly work with patients. So happy to refer people to you as needed from that perspective. Like, I think it's important to recognize everyone in the group is here to support their health, but it's working with a therapist is so beneficial. And it's kind of cool too. Like you hear about, you know, whether it's, you know, pop stars or comedians or actors, it's becoming more open. Like, oh yeah, I talk to a therapist every week. It's not as much of a thing to talk about, to feel bad about. It's pretty cool to hear that. And it's like, oh yeah, I needed it. I feel really good afterwards.
I agree with you. I feel like it is being more out in the open, and you know, I commend those people that have those platforms to be able to share that they go, because it can make somebody feel less, you know, stigmatized or less, you know, ashamed about it, because there are those feelings. And I think it's important. Like I always like to say, you know, you're not a problem to be solved. You're not. You come as you are, and you know, you're a human being just having an experience, and that's all it is. And we all have these thoughts and emotions. We all have some things that we need to work on, and just to be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. And that's what I think therapy really is. It's not about fixing, you know, you, because that doesn't need to be fixed.
Thank you for saying that. Not that I needed you to say that, but it's really cool to hear that we are born whole. We are whole as a person, and we're not puzzle pieces that need to be put together per se, but we all just need to kind of be heard. We need somebody to hear from us, hear us out.
Yes.
And then we can finally breathe afterwards because we have all these trapped emotions.
It's so true. Because if you're not getting it out, it bottles up, and it kind of makes this whole web and gets very tangled. So I think being able to get it out and have somebody help untangle it, you know, with you, is a good metaphor for what therapy is.
I guess I've known you for 10 years personally back then, and I know you now as a person, and you're a very caring person. I was looking to make that positive difference in people's lives, and you're a very easy person to talk to. So I certainly appreciate it as well for what you do. And I think it's good that we're more and more people are talking about the benefits of working with someone like yourself, a therapist and so forth.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And you know, I'm glad I could be here, and I really do appreciate you guys asking me to be on and to talk. And if anybody has any questions, I mean, they could ask them. I'm not sure how that goes on here, but
I think Brittany's checking. And even if not, I've noticed myself that, you know, a couple hours later, someone like, oh yeah, when they'll watch it.
Right.
You know, I'll be able to see that as well. Obviously, see it in the chat, which is always nice. It's always gonna be up, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any questions, leave them below. If you're watching the replay, drop us a #replay. Let us know you're here, and we will be, checking the comments for the next few days and just seeing if you have anything for Dr. Konko here. Just let us know. She'd be more than happy to answer questions. Thank you so much for coming and just sharing your knowledge and some very valuable tips and insights there that everybody in the group can utilize. So we very much appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah.
How can people contact you as far as, you know, if you're in Florida, New Jersey, just kind of easy access to you type of thing?
Yeah, if somebody, you know, wants and is inquiring about services, we will certainly provide, we'll provide my number and my email address, which is Dr. Alexia Konko at soulpsychology.com. So we can get that spelling down for the people that, you know, ask about it. We'll give them
Perfect.
that.
We can put that in the comments too.
Yeah.
And that way anybody going through can look at that and just contact you directly.
Yeah. If somebody's interested, you know, we are taking appointments, so we'll be happy to help.
Cool. And you work in person, Zoom, etc. Like, how does that work?
Yep. So if you're local to the Fort Myers, Florida area, I do walk and talk nature therapy and virtual therapy for Florida. And then my practitioner is going to be New Jersey, New York, and Florida. So anyone in those areas can reach out.
Cool. That's pretty cool. Walk and talk. So you walk in the park?
Yep. We walk in the park, walk the beach. So
That's awesome. I've never heard of that. That's pretty cool.
yeah. It's pretty rare. So
That's awesome.
That's really, I commend you for doing that. And I'm sure you'll be doing more, maybe yoga in the park or something like that. So meditate in the park.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're going to get that going on the coaching side of the business and get some yoga out there. And, I'm currently looking for a yoga instructor to run that. So
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you for being on. Any last words of wisdom from you? Any kind of thoughts as far as your experience and so forth?
Yeah, all I can say is, this is kind of the biggest journey that you'll go on, the most important journey that you'll go on. And, it is going to pay off when you put the hard work in, and hope is ahead. Help is always available for you, and reach out when you need it.
It's worth it. I just have one quick question. I apologize. You think you're talking about ACT or DBT and thinking about things that are important to you. And I spoke about this 2 years ago, when COVID was big. I would tell you that when I was alone by myself and we were all trapped inside, I would look at pictures of my nephew. Actually, it was my nephew at the time. My niece wasn't born. Mm-hmm. And it would, those like little things like we can do for ourselves that'll give us a sense of hope. Like, oh yeah, I love Felix. Felix is obviously, I love Felix. And it's kind of little things like that can kind of boost our, helpful neurotransmitters and so forth. So that's an easy thing that I do, and I'm sure many other people can do as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely like value-based, right? And that's value is family and close family relationships. So I think, if you could take anything, from this, could take one little thing from it to just try, right? And to just see how it goes. And, again, this isn't psychological advice, but we love it. So
I did try to put those definitions in the chat too, in the comments. So feel free, Alexia, to go back in. I was trying to type as you were explaining like what they were. So feel free to correct me or add on to any of those if I didn't get it quite right.
I will. If I can get on to the chat, that is. But
perfect. Yeah, I'll tag you in it after it loads. So
okay, thanks, Brittany.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for being on. It's so, like I said, I've known you for a while, and it's so cool that you're taking this holistic approach to supporting your clients, just from the talk perspective, in addition to their life perspective, obviously.
Thank
you.
And
what they do on a daily basis.
Thank you. And I appreciate all that you do, Chris, too, for your clients. I know how much you care, and how much you're willing to go above and beyond to support them, and Brittany as well, for all you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you later.
You too.
Bye,
thank
guys.
you.